All right, today we are diving into something that's a huge pain point for so many tech teams: how to modernize software architecture. We're going to explore how we can move beyond these static, dead documents and start making architecture a living, breathing part of your development lifecycle.
So, let me ask you a question, and be honest. Does this sound familiar? You've got this great idea, the team is all fired up, but then everything just grinds to a halt. Why? Because you're stuck waiting on architecture reviews. Is your architectural process actually a bottleneck instead of an accelerator?
Yeah, if you're nodding along, you are definitely not alone. This is what a broken process looks like, right? Designs are created way too slowly, totally isolated from the people who actually have to build the thing. You get inconsistent designs, and then the critical checks from security and ops show up way too late in the game. The result is always the same: frustration, confusion, and incredibly expensive rework.
Okay, so how do we fix this? How do we break that cycle? Well, that's what we're here to talk about. The solution is a framework called ArchFlow, and it's built from the ground up for high-velocity teams. The core idea is simple but powerful. Stop creating static documents that just sit there. Start producing executable inputs that actually drive development forward.
So what exactly is ArchFlow? Let's unpack that. It's an AI-augmented, spec-driven framework. AI-augmented means it uses artificial intelligence to speed things up. Spec-driven means we're focused on concrete specifications, not vague diagrams. And the real game changer is that it throws out that old, slow, sequential model and replaces it with iterative work and continuous governance. And when you put them side by side, the difference is just night and day. The traditional way, it's sequential and slow. Design happens in a silo, and it almost always leads to painful rework. The ArchFlow way is iterative and concurrent, with governance baked in from the start. You go from static documentation to executable inputs, which means you get validated handoffs. It's a total shift from a waterfall mindset to one that's truly agile.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, but how does it actually work? Well, ArchFlow isn't some chaotic free-for-all. It's a structured, phased process. Think of it as having gates. It uses a decision-first approach to move methodically from those raw, messy requirements all the way to specs that are truly ready for implementation.
The process really boils down to 3 clear phases. First, you build a solid foundation. From there, you move into design, where you make deliberate, traceable choices. And finally, synthesis, where you assemble everything for delivery. Let's break down each one.
First up is the foundation phase. The whole point here is to get everyone on the same page. It takes in those raw requirements, and this is where the AI really shines. It helps clarify all the fuzzy parts, spotting conflicting statements or undefined terms. Then it generates those core artifacts like user stories and system context that the entire team can rally around.
Next is the design phase, and this decision-first approach is absolutely key. Instead of just jumping in and drawing diagrams, teams use what are called architecture decision records, or ADRs. These are just simple documents that capture a critical design choice. You analyze it, you approve it, and then you generate the artifacts. This makes every single choice deliberate and traceable.
And that brings us to the final phase, synthesis. This is the payoff. This is where all those approved decisions and artifacts are assembled into the final concrete deliverables. We're talking a high-level architecture overview document, a detailed solution architecture document, and, this is huge, a clear implementation plan that you can hand directly to the development team.
So who actually benefits from a framework like ArchFlow? Well, the great thing is it's a win for the whole team. But let's look at how different roles get unique value out of this structured process.
Let's start with the architects themselves. For them, this is a massive accelerator. They can move from requirements to a validated design so much faster. The early validation helps slash rework, and the AI assistance with generation and consistency checks is a huge help. Plus, you get formal governance checkpoints that add rigor without creating a bottleneck. It's all about getting both speed and quality.
Now, what about the engineers on the delivery teams, the people who have to actually build this thing?
For them, this is a game changer. Instead of getting vague slides, they receive concrete, traceable artifacts. We're talking clear specs that provide direct guidance for implementation. All that guesswork? It's gone. And these outputs are ready to plug right into modern workflows like GitHub Spec Kit.
ArchFlow also completely transforms the role of security and operations.
So often they're brought in at the end to bless a design. Here, their standards are built in from the start, not bolted on. Key principles like zero trust, threat modeling using frameworks like Stride, and SRE practices are all considered during the design phase. This is what a true shift left for governance really looks like.
And finally, let's zoom out and look at it from the leadership perspective. The benefits here are really strategic. You get improved consistency across all your projects and much greater transparency into why design decisions were made. You significantly reduce the risk of that costly rework, and the entire life cycle becomes auditable and traceable. From a governance standpoint, that is a huge win.
So, when you add up all these benefits, you start to see that ArchFlow isn't just a new process. It's really a philosophical shift in how we view architecture, moving it away from static documentation and toward a dynamic, living system.
This quote just nails it perfectly. The goal is to make architecture an active, operational part of software delivery, not some dusty document that's sitting on a shelf somewhere.
And this philosophy is put into practice through core principles like architecture as code. By treating everything as code, the architecture, the documentation, all artifacts can be version controlled. This gives you full traceability from the initial requirement all the way down to the final component, all validated through that gated process.
So, I'll leave you with one final question to think about. Is your current architecture a relic of a slower era, or is it a living system that's truly ready to power high-velocity delivery? Thanks so much for joining me on this Explainer.